Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a story that's shaking up not just the entertainment world, but the entire globe. Recently, one of the biggest stars of American Pickers, Mike Wolfe, was handed a shocking sentence: life in prison. But the charges against him are enough to send chills down your spine. These allegations sound like the plot of a high-risk horror movie, smuggling artifacts across countries, hidden within evidence related to the death of a famous historian, and even manipulating the antique auction market. All of this amounts to tens of millions of dollars, while millions of fans are watching. But is Mike Wolfe truly the mastermind? Or is he just a victim of a dangerous system? If you find this story intriguing, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to uncover the hidden mysteries in today's video. Several major news outlets simultaneously reported that Mike Wolfe, the prominent face of the reality show American Pickers, has been sentenced to life in prison. The charges sound like the plot of a high-risk horror movie: international artifact smuggling, hidden in evidence related to the death of a famous historian, and manipulating the antique auction market. The value runs into tens of millions of dollars for millions of viewers. Mike Wolfe has always embodied the image of a heritage enthusiast, traveling across the U.S. to rediscover items with the soul of time. But the truth revealed in a 46-day trial painted a different picture: a cold, calculating man with secret ties to clandestine antique smuggling rings from the Middle East and Europe. The story began on June 17, 2023, when the police in Bloomington, Indiana, received a call from a neighbor reporting a strange smell coming from the basement of Professor Harold Clemens's house, a retired historian who had taught at the University of Chicago and specialized in Civil War artifacts. When authorities entered, they found Clemens dead, lying on his back, his right hand holding a small item: a silver pocket watch engraved with faint but still readable words, RK 1887, meaning honor, not glory. At first glance, it appeared to be the natural death of an elderly man living alone, but the watch was something that shouldn't have been there. Just a week later, the Savannah National Museum issued an internal memo that was quickly leaked. The watch had once been part of the Battlefield Heritage Collection, which had gone missing in 2019 during an unknown archival transfer. The incident was never made public. The museum feared a scandal until the item unexpectedly reappeared in the hands of a dead body. This information spread quickly on social media, but what truly ignited the situation came from an anonymous Reddit post. A user named GearGhost82 created a thread on the antique collecting subreddit. "I swear I saw this exact watch in an unaired episode of American Pickers when Mike visited a farm in Kentucky. It was in his palm, and he even said the watch tells stories." Within 48 hours, dozens of people came forward claiming they had seen the same item on the show, or at least a similar clip that had gone viral on YouTube in 2021, but was later deleted. Other users added, "I saw it displayed at Antique Archaeology in Nashville last year." In July 2023, the FBI quietly launched an investigation, working with the International Artifacts Smuggling Task Force. This operation, codenamed Rust Rail, primarily focused on determining whether Mike Wolfe was connected to an illegal federal and possibly international antique smuggling network. One of their initial leads came from an unpublished video of History Channel, leaked by a former employee. In the 14-minute footage, Mike Wolfe is seen negotiating to buy a military pocket watch from an unidentified man inside a warehouse near Paducah, Kentucky, owned by Elgin, a U.S. manufacturer. Mike's voice in the video says, "I know this piece has passed through the hands of an officer. It definitely has historical value. I won't ask you where you got it." What raised further suspicion was the not entirely non-existent link between Harold Clemens and Mike Wolfe. In 2017, Clemens briefly appeared at a televised regional history artifact seminar. In his introduction, he made a cryptic remark about some artifacts that should never be sold. They carry pain that no money can buy. An internal email from Clemens' computer, recovered after his death, revealed deeper suspicions. In a message to a close friend, he wrote, "I believe I've uncovered a chain of illegal transactions involving a famous TV personality. I'm considering whether to warn federal authorities." This email was sent 3 days before his death. Although authorities found no signs of assault, the autopsy report indicated a small bruise on the back of Clemens's head, possibly from a fall or impact before he lost consciousness. No one was prosecuted for his death, but from that point, the investigation changed direction. Mike Wolfe was officially placed under special federal surveillance. That small watch, once a minor detail, became the spark that brought the entire antique empire to face justice. Right after the silver pocket watch appeared next to Professor Harold Clemens's body, the federal investigation team began re-examining all aired episodes of American Pickers. While also issuing formal requests for internal records from History Channel and the production company, the FBI quickly discovered an anomaly. Between 2020 and 2023, over 40 items that Mike Wolfe and the film crew had bought never aired on television. Some were filmed with basic purchase receipts, but no clear records of where they went afterward, including the fateful pocket watch. The secret investigation, codenamed Rust Rail, referred to the trail of items buried in warehouse basements or even the underground cellars of antique shops. Initially, the investigation team could not directly access Mike Wolfe. Instead, they quietly tracked one of his backstage assistants, Craig Salinas, who acted as the driver and main logistics handler for the production team. During a nearly 6-hour surveillance session in southern Missouri, Salinas was recorded driving a truck labeled Antique Archaeology to an abandoned warehouse, a location not listed in any official records. Local police were asked to assist by posing as a construction safety inspection team. There, they saw a series of sealed wooden crates containing items from the 18th and 19th centuries, including at least 3 items identified by the FBI as stolen from a local museum in Georgia. A major breakthrough occurred when the investigation team obtained search warrants for 2 private storage facilities registered under a company called Time Vault Logistics LLC, a front company in which Mike Wolfe held shares through 3 layers of financial intermediaries. At the first warehouse in Ohio, many undocumented antiques were discovered, from Civil War pistols and torn handwritten manuscripts to a nearly 1-meter-tall Egyptian statue carefully stored in a shockproof crate. This statue, according to an internal report, matched a statue stolen from the Luxor Museum in Egypt in 2011. After tracing the money, The FBI discovered that Mike Wolfe owned at least 5 small companies established in tax havens like Malta and the Cayman Islands from 2016 to 2023, with nearly $4.7 million being transferred between these companies via antique transactions. However, none of the transactions involved certified appraisers or reputable auction houses. Notably, a Swiss bank account under Wolfe's name received a $150,000 transfer from an individual connected to the underground antique market in Aleppo, Syria, which had previously been accused of serving as a hub for looted cultural artifacts during wartime. What stunned investigators was how Mike organized the entire operation. No official members of the crew were responsible for transporting goods after filming. Everything was handed off to third parties, with contracts signed via virtual fax apps and payments made in cash or cryptocurrency. The FBI decided to infiltrate the network by approaching an antique store that Wolfe had previously visited in New Mexico. An informal meeting between an undercover agent and Mike took place on the night of December 3rd. In an audio recording, Mike was heard saying that not every item should be shown on TV. Some things are for those who truly understand their value, not the audience. Right after this meeting, the FBI conducted emergency searches at 3 locations related to antique archaeology, including a secret warehouse in North Nashville, where they discovered a list of 17 encrypted handwritten documents listing artifacts along with black market price codes and transaction dates. You won't believe what they found. Like and subscribe to the channel to continue following this thrilling story. Alongside the list was a personal notebook belonging to Mike with a pencil-written note reading, "They'll never understand. This is about heritage, not money, but heritage cannot be an excuse to break the law." With so much evidence, including undocumented artifacts, shady accounts, and notes showing concealment, Mike Wolfe was officially named the primary suspect in what could become the biggest scandal in U.S. reality TV history. A tense trial and verdict for Mike took place on January 9th, 2025. Mike Wolfe's federal trial officially began in Chicago, with tightened security and reporters in attendance. Outside the courthouse, crowds gathered with signs reading, "Free Mike," still believing it was all just a misunderstanding. But what was revealed inside the courtroom left most in silence. The 39-page indictment listed 6 main charges, including the illegal transport of antiques, international cultural heritage trafficking, tax evasion, obstruction of justice, money laundering, and indirectly concealing evidence in a suspicious death. The proposed sentence was life in prison without the possibility of parole. The prosecutor began with a series of images and clips from previously unreleased videos, in which Mike Wolfe is seen negotiating shady deals at locations not officially recorded by the show. One of these showed Mike handing cash to a Syrian man at a garage in Detroit, in exchange for a small box containing unverified Roman coins. The prosecutor described this not as collecting antiques, but as a trade model built on illegal behavior, disguised through the lens of television. A devastating blow to Mike's defense came from the testimony of Frank Fritz, his former co-host for many seasons. After leaving the show, Frank agreed to testify, and his words silenced the courtroom. He said, "We used to promise we would only collect what was legal, but over time, everything changed. Mike became obsessed with things no one else had. He added, "To keep the show alive, we had to dig deeper, both literally and figuratively." Frank carefully recalled an incident in 2021 when they obtained a wartime diary in Arkansas. Mike later took it, and no one knew where it went. But weeks later, Frank saw a copy of that very diary on the black market, priced at 15 times its original value. The defense didn't offer a direct rebuttal to the physical evidence. Instead, they focused on portraying Mike as a man trapped in a system he couldn't control, claiming all transactions were handled by the logistics team and that Mike was an antique enthusiast, not a mastermind. Mike Wolfe remained silent for nearly the entire trial. His eyes were bleak, emotionless. On the 31st day of the trial, when asked if he wanted to speak to the jury, Mike stared directly at them and said, "I never considered myself a criminal. I just wanted to speak for what others discarded. If that makes me guilty, I accept it." That shocking statement was quoted in headlines, dividing public opinion between admiration and condemnation. On sentencing day, the judge took just over 4 minutes to read the verdict. Based on the volume of evidence, the level of organization, and the resulting consequences, especially the concealment of artifacts from international cultural theft, the court sentenced Mike Wolfe to life in prison without parole and terminated all ownership rights related to the ancient archaeology program and brand. In the gallery, an elderly man broke down in tears. He had been a loyal fan of the show for a decade. On fan pages across social media, he had praised Mike, but now that admiration was either fading or shifting to a memorial state. But one bigger question remained. If Mike was the mastermind, then who was behind it all? The empire collapsed, and after the shocks, just 3 days after Mike Wolfe was sentenced, History Channel officially announced the cancellation of American Pickers and removed all related content from its streaming platform. The once highly followed YouTube channel quietly deleted old videos. The website for ancient archaeology turned into a blank interface, with just one line reading, "Temporarily suspended." A name once associated with American television culture vanished so quickly that it almost seemed like it had never existed. The FBI sealed both the display locations in Iowa and Tennessee, which Mike had called sacred spaces for those passionate about the past. The secret warehouse in North Nashville, once used as an artifact collection center, was transferred to the Heritage Management Bureau. A month-long inventory revealed many items with forged paperwork, unclear provenance, and worse, some confirmed to be religious artifacts from conflict zones like Iraq, Syria, and Yemen. Among them was a marble sculpture believed to belong to an Ottoman royal tomb stolen in 2003. The antique auction market temporarily froze. Major companies like Saab and Christie's issued statements reviewing all transactions indirectly related to Mike Wolfe. Several large transactions worth hundreds of thousands of dollars were canceled. Private collectors began fearing that items they had purchased through Mike might be seized at any time. Public opinion started to divide. Loyal fans believed Mike had been turned into a scapegoat for a long-standing system operating in the shadows of art, commerce, and politics. On platforms like X and Reddit, public debates analyzed inconsistencies in the investigation, suggesting that Mike might have accidentally uncovered information someone didn't want revealed. A detail continuing to fuel public debate was the list of 17 documents found in Mike's warehouse. Besides the coded transactions and artifact markings, the last page contained a handwritten note. Q7R3VTI. Analysts and conspiracy theorists rushed to decode it. Some believed it was an abbreviation for a secret organization involved in high-end artifact trafficking, possibly related to religious authorities. A popular theory claimed Vatic referred to the Vatican, a never officially acknowledged entity.
Though there was no clear evidence, the presence of this code turned the story into something much more ambiguous, stretching beyond one man and one TV show. Another document released by the forensic investigation team was Mike Wolfe's personal notebook, with notes like Episode 312, Scene of the Old Truck Being Cut, or Tracking with the Leopard Skin Collection Holder. One page contained a single handwritten sentence: "They'll never understand." Not all of the past should be brought to light. This page was tightly folded and stuffed between unrelated papers, as if Mike had unintentionally wanted it to be found. At the federal prison in Turmoil, where Mike is serving his sentence, officials have denied all media access. An anonymous former associate revealed that he didn't speak to anyone, ate alone, went alone, and didn't make any special requests, as if he had accepted the sentence or had foreseen it. In March 2025, during a closed hearing, an FBI representative stated that individuals involved in the case were still under surveillance, implying that the investigation was ongoing.
One of the unofficial individuals subpoenaed was the former program director at History Channel, who was responsible for reviewing the cut episodes. No one knows whether certain footage was deleted, edited, or intentionally buried. To understand why it all ended up this way, you have to go back to the beginning, before the cameras started rolling, before the million-dollar brand returned to where Mike Wolfe started. Mike Wolfe, the man behind the tragedy, was born in 1964 in Joliet, Illinois, into a poor working-class family, raised by a single mother with 2 siblings. They survived on second-hand items from neighbors. From a young age, Mike was captivated by things others discarded. While his friends collected baseball cards, young Doug Mike scoured schoolyard trash piles for broken radios, old bikes, anything with gears. His favorite saying in his early years was, "If people think it's worthless, it's worth keeping." In 2010, when American Pickers first aired on History Channel, Mike was in his 40s, but his eyes lit up when he saw a vintage license plate, still childlike. The show became a phenomenon. Alongside his partner Frank Fritz, Mike drove thousands of miles across the U.S., energizing forgotten garages and barns to find treasures from the past. He was loved not only for his knowledge, but also for the respect he showed to sellers and his genuine passion for every item. But perhaps that passion went too far. A person who worked with Mike in the early years said that he didn't just collect objects, but also collected control over memories. As the show became more famous, the pressure to maintain viewership grew. Each item had to outshine the last, and to achieve that, Mike began seeking places no one was allowed to go: evidence lockers, black markets, suppliers from war-torn areas. No one knows exactly when the line was crossed, but one thing became clear. He was no longer just seeking what no one else wanted. He was chasing things that people were afraid to keep. Perhaps in Mike's mind, he was doing right by rescuing pieces of history from being forgotten, but the law doesn't work on personal ideals. Now, Mike Wolfe is prisoner number 4279 D54. The name that once represented American heritage has been erased from all public platforms. But deep inside, the question remains: was Mike Wolfe a man who exploited the past for profit, or the last person brave enough to preserve it despite the consequences? Mike Wolfe went from a man who traveled across America to collect memories to a national TV icon and ultimately a convicted criminal sentenced to life in prison. The story serves as a reminder that sometimes the line between passion and misconduct is thinner than we think, and the truth, no matter how deeply buried, will always find its way back to the light. Do you think about the sentence for Mike Wolfe? Is he a victim of the system or someone who has crossed the line of morality? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next exciting videos. See you next time.